And we are live. I think we are live. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. My chat is not showing on the screen. Now it is. Welcome to the live Q&A for August 2024. We were going to do this last week, but then various things transpired and conspired against us. And yeah, here we are. So a little bit later than planned in the month. But yes, welcome. So what we're going to do, as we do every month, is I'm going to first of all answer all of the questions that people have asked me in advance over on the Guild on Board Game Geek. If you are watching this and you are not a member of the Guild on Board Game Geek, please head on over there now. The Guild number is 2258. There is a link to it in the description of this video, and Vicky will put one in the chat. And yeah, head on over to the Guild and join. And then you need to click on the subscribe button. If you don't click on the subscribe button, you won't actually see anything that's going on there. So yeah, every month, about a few days before I do these Q&As, I post on there and ask for people to ask me questions in advance. And I'll go through all of them first. If you're watching this live, hello, thank you very much for joining us. If you do have any questions, please start with the word question and then colon and then your question. Vicky will pick those up, transfer them onto this screen using the wonderful powers of technology. And I will see them and I will get to them in probably about 45 minutes time. We do have a restaurant appointment tonight, so we need to be wrapping things up at 6:30. 6:30 is normally the time when we wrap things up anyway, but in case I ramble on for a bit, I'm going to get Vicky to wave at me frantically, which is basically you're spending too long talking about things that aren't important. Right, so let's head on over to the Guild, and I've got the questions here. Where have I got the questions? I have the questions here. First question is from Scott. Scott wants to know about Ezra and Nehemiah, however you pronounce it. This is from Garfield Games. It is designed by Shem Phillips and Sam MacDonald, and it is the first sponsored playthrough video that I have done for Garfield Games. I would love to do more. It's only time that is stopping me doing more. Garfield Games have been very good to me in the past, and they've said, Paul, we'd love to sponsor if you want to cover any of our games whatsoever. And I'm like, oh, that's great, because I do enjoy their games. And they've got some other games coming up, which are going to be going to Kickstarter very soon. But unfortunately, I don't have time to fit in everything that I wanted to do. So I have done the how to play video for that one, and I hope to be doing more how to play videos for them in future. Anyway, Scott's question is it their best game so far? And I want to know what you think. For those people that have played lots of games from Shem Phillips and Sam MacDonald, do you think it is their best game so far? I don't know. I've only played, and I don't know if all of these are Sam MacDonald as well. So I have played Architects of the West Kingdom, I have played Paladins of the West Kingdom, and I have played Viscounts of the West Kingdom. That's it. I haven't played any of the South Tigris series, and I haven't played any of their other ones in the Not in a Series. I've also played lots of Hadrian's Wall, but that isn't designed by them. That's published by them, but not designed by them. So yeah, my question to you, if you're watching this live or if you're watching this back later on, is Ezra and Nehemiah the best game from them? I've seen actually a lot of talk about this game over the last few months, in that a lot of people are really rating this game. Some people have said it's their best game of the year. And Scott is asking, will this game eventually make it into the top 100? I don't know if they have any of their other games in the top 100. I'd be surprised if they didn't, because a number of their other games are very well respected and highly regarded. So I don't know. If anybody wants to find out for me and let me know, are there any games designed by Shem Phillips and Sam MacDonald in the top 100 at the moment? As for whether it is their best game so far, it's hard for me to say, because not only because I was professionally involved and I created the how to play video, and it wouldn't be right if I turned around and said, actually, it's my least favourite of all of their games. I have only played the ones in the West Kingdom series, and the Ezra and Nehemiah, I would say I enjoyed that more than any of the others, but it's a bit heavier. And, you know, we need to be aware of that going into things. What is better for one person is not better for somebody else. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what you think. So if you're watching this video back, leave me a comment. That's the first thing I want to know. Of course, you might be watching this and not have played any of their games. Next question from Keith. Keith knows me all too well. He says, do you ever lose pieces from a board game? Or do you ever find a piece on the floor and not know what it's from? Yes to both of those. Not that often. I mean, I do So when I lose pieces from board games, it's due to my own inability to put things away properly. So what I'll do is I'll put a game away, and then like the day after, I'll find a piece and I'll be like, there's a piece from that game that I put away. I'll put this somewhere safe, and then I lose it. Now, I have, in the other room, I have 2 small boxes filled with components from games that I haven't yet got round to putting away. But I think I know which games they are from. So it's more a case of my forgetfulness and things like that, which is why I don't get round to putting things away as properly as I should do. And occasionally I do lose something from a board game. Sometimes when you're at a convention and you lend a game to people and then it comes back and it's missing something, and it's, these things happen, which is always disappointing. If it's a little wooden cube or a meeple, it's less of a problem. If it's like a card and you need that card, then it's a bit more of a problem. Next question from Adrian. Have you ever thought about recording your monthly video logs as podcasts? I do. And I've already let Adrian know this. So this video that you're watching right now on YouTube, either whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it back later, if you would prefer, there is actually a podcast version of this as well. There isn't right now because I'm currently recording it, but as long as I remember, then in the next few days, there will be a podcast version of this. And the same goes for my monthly video logs. So if you prefer listening to podcasts and just want to hear me rambling about board games while you're driving, then you can go on to all of your major podcast providers, search for the New Gaming Rules podcast, because years ago, I did used to do a podcast, and that was the Gaming Rules podcast. So that's why this one is the all new Gaming Rules podcast. We're up to episode 75. This is actually episode 75. So we've been doing it for 3 years now. Yeah. And it was a goal of the Patreon campaign. When we got to a certain number of supporters on the Patreon campaign, that's when I'd start creating them as podcasts, because it is a little bit of extra admin and overhead, and I pay Chrissy to do all of the background work and do the uploading and things like that. So it is a little bit of extra work. Next question from Brendan. My recent coverage of Quayside, which if you haven't watched it, this is a new game coming from Richard Breeze, co-designed by David Turtsey, is going to be coming to Kickstarter in the next month or so. And there is a video that I have done. I've done a 3-player tutorial and playthrough video a couple of weeks ago, which is on the channel. And Brendan is asking, what is my favourite key game and which ones do I not really like and why? Now, Richard Breeze, game designer, friend of mine, and one of my Patreon supporters, he got an email this afternoon from my Patreon page saying, I'm doing a live Q&A later on, and one of the questions that I've been asked is, what is your favourite key game? And Richard actually sent me an email this afternoon and said, as long as you don't say Keyforge, I'll be okay. So, yeah, because Keyforge is not a Richard Breeze game. And in fact, it's not really a key game. And for those people who don't know, we're talking Keyflower, Cathedral, Key Market, Keeper. There's lots of other ones as well. Keyflow, Key to the City of London, and Kingdom's Dragons, and Quayside is the new one. And Brendan is asking me for which one is my favourite and why. Now, I haven't played all of the key games. I've played all of the ones which are, I think, readily available. But there are some really early ones like Cathedral, which was really limited copies and are very rare. I've not played that one. But I think, from memory, and this is not including Quayside, but prior to Quayside, I think my favourite one is actually Key Market. Key Market wasn't actually a Richard Breeze designed game. I think it was David Brain, and I think Richard did work as a developer on the game rather than the core design. There was something about Key Market which I really liked. It's been a couple of years since I've played it, so I can't remember exactly what it was that I liked about it. I think you were buying and selling things, and I quite like that in games. But yeah, there was something about Key Market, and I have covered it on the channel. So if you're interested in checking out a playthrough of Key Market, you can do so. I also really liked Keyflow. Keyflow is a card game version of Keyflower, which kind of uses the Seven Wonders card drafting mechanism. And I think it's underrated. I'm not saying it's better than Keyflower, because Keyflower is still a masterpiece of a game. But I think Keyflow was a little bit underrated. Now, Quayside, again, I'm professionally involved in this game. The video that I did covering the game was sponsored by Richard. So it would be wrong of me to, share my full, honest opinions of the game. But I did enjoy it. I'll say that I did enjoy it. I felt that it actually flowed quite well and a little bit more smoothly than some of the other key games in the past, which I found were very clever, but I found sometimes the rules were a little bit hard to get my head around. I felt personally, and I'm not saying everybody who played it with me felt this way, but I certainly felt that Quayside did seem to flow a bit better. Right, next question from Pascal. In my recent unboxing of Undaunted Callisto, unboxing video on the channel, if you want to go and watch it, I said that I was happy about the non-shrink wrapped cards. Yeah, so for those people who didn't see the unboxing video, the game contains packs of cards, and those packs of cards were not in shrink wrap. They just had a paper wrapper around them, and you just took that off. And I was very happy about that because single-use plastics are bad, and we should be using less of them. And even some of my favourite board game publishers are still shrink wrapping cards. Most people are, but a few people are not. And I was very happy to see that Lookout Games have been doing this for years. They don't use plastic shrink wrap even on their game boxes. And Osprey didn't on the cards as well. So I was very happy about that. But Pascal is asking, what is my opinion on out-of-the-box board game inserts? And I'll go on to what he says here. He says, I really do like inserts, and he's got plenty of them from Laser Rocks. Laser Rocks are a really good make of inserts. I can say that with confidence, because they are. Some of the out-of-box inserts are quite good. Some out-of-the-box inserts are quite good, like the ones in Mind Clash's premium versions, which I can tell you, I've got them. They are good. Or the tray from Res Arcana. I don't know about that one. Others, like the ones that came with Great Western Trail Argentina, are made of plastic, didn't provide a real advantage, and even failed to store parts of the material, especially if sleeved. Those inserts seem to be designed to look nice, but are of no use, and in the end, they go in the bin and are even a bigger waste of plastic. Now, I'll be honest with you here, and I feel a little bit more comfortable in being honest about this, because the new series of the Great Western Trail games, so Great Western Trail 2nd Edition, Great Western Trail Argentina, and Great Western Trail New Zealand, are published by Plan B Games, or at least they were until recently. And I had a good relationship with somebody at Plan B Games, but Plan B Games have restructured. Something has changed, and I don't quite know exactly what. I believe that my contact at Plan B Games may be no longer working at Plan B Games, and they no longer have the rights to these games. In fact, Asmodee have done some reorganising and reshuffling around, and I believe it's Lookout Games that have now got the rights to these games. And I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be a new series of prints of these games from Lookout Games. And one of the reasons for that is exactly what Pascal says. And if my opinion on the plastic inserts that come with the Great Western Trail series of games are absolutely awful. And Pascal has hit the nail on the head by saying they look pretty. Okay, you open the box, you take out all of the punch board and you take out the bits, and there you go. You've got this nice molded plastic tray, and you think, oh, this is great. The space is there to put things, and the space is here to put things. Great. And that's what you do. And you take all of your components and you put them in, and then you sleeve the cards and they don't fit. So, okay. But even when you put all of the components where they're supposed to go, it looks great. And then you take the game somewhere. And even if you don't store the box, even if you don't tip the box vertically, if you do, everything will go everywhere. But even if you don't, the problem with those inserts is they are designed to look pretty, but not be functional. And what I mean by that is, if you transport that game anywhere, you will take the lid off and everything will be everywhere. And that's the problem that I have with these inserts. And I know how much time and effort goes into designing these inserts. I also know how much they cost. And it's a complete waste of time and money, because that insert for me is absolutely useless. And I really wish that publishers would stop doing them. Just don't give me any insert whatsoever. What's the point of giving me an insert which serves no functional purpose and I'm only going to throw it away in the bin? There you go. That's my controversial thoughts on inserts. Let me know what you think. If you're watching this live, let me know. Or if you're watching this back afterwards, let me know what your opinion is on inserts. Not just the ones from those games, but those types of inserts in general. Next question from Adrian. How do you cope with fatigue with long stretches of gaming sessions? In his experience, he's usually brain dead after 2 sessions of heavy Euros. So it's a really good question. And I actually thought about this because I do less so now than I used to, but I overwork myself. I am almost always permanently tired. And that is a combination of not sleeping well at night for, many, many weeks in advance and the gradual draining effect of that. But also a lot of my work. And when you're seeing me playing a game with friends on a Friday night or a Tuesday night, you're probably thinking, well, there's Paul. He's having fun. He's playing games with his friends. The amount of effort that it takes to run a live stream, not just teaching the game, but constantly looking at the chat, constantly looking at the cameras, constantly checking that the microphones are okay. It's a huge amount of work. And after every live stream that I do, I am physically exhausted. I'm an absolute wreck. And my blood pressure goes up, my temperature goes up, and it takes me a good hour for my body to start calming down because of the adrenaline rush and everything else. It's hard work. And quite often I will be streaming 1 or 2 times in an afternoon, and then I'll have a bit of break for food, and then there'll be a mad panic while I'm trying to get everything ready for the stream, and then we'll do a live stream in the evening, and that's like a 14-hour day for me. And sure, I'm not saying everybody feels sorry for Paul, he gets to play games for a living, but it's still a job. It's still hard work. And I am quite exhausted at the end of the day. But let's put that aside. Let's talk about just playing games and nothing to do with live streaming. So, things like what you do and I do, and we play games. How do I cope with the fatigue after playing heavy Euro after heavy Euro? I think for me, it's because I enjoy the games so much. I'm still so passionate about playing games. I'm still so excited about playing games. It's that which keeps me going. So assuming that I've had a reasonable night's sleep the night before, then I could play all day. I could play for 12, 15 hours, no problem, because it's the games itself. And I know how much I'm going to enjoy those games. It's like dangling a carrot in front of me. It's like, Paul, you could go to bed, or do you just want to play a couple of rounds of just one? Oh, straight. And I know how much I'm going to enjoy it. So, I always do. That's the way I combat fatigue. Now, I am friends with a number of people who can't do that. They say, once I've played a couple of heavy games in a day, and Adrian is the same. Adrian's saying that. You've played a couple of heavy Euros. Maybe they were 3 hours each. Maybe they were 3.5, 4 hours each. That's it. He's spent. And to be honest, I think that's normal. I think I am not normal. I think I am so enthusiastic about games and I'm so passionate about games that I'm able to keep going. Next question from Avron. This is another good question. Have you ever played a game that you felt had a simple fix to a problem that you saw and then tried that solution, and did it actually work or did it make things worse? So, Avron, I would recommend going onto my guild on Board Game Geek, and somewhere on that guild there is a list of Paul's house rules. It's a little bit out of date, and in fact there's a geek list as well. So I think it's a geek list, and if you can't find it, drop me a message and I'll send it to you. But I think there is a geek list of Paul Grogan's house rules. So if you Google it, you'll find it. Those are all things that I thought of which I felt were simple fixes to overcome a problem that I saw. Now, I'm not going to get into the topic of house rules too much because that's a half-hour conversation. And if you are one of those people that is strongly opposed to house rules, then you might want to switch off just for the next couple of minutes, because I have come up with a number of house rules for the games which I've played over the years, which I felt there's a problem. I don't like that. The people who I normally play with also don't like that. So how are we going to fix that? Because we love the game. We think this game is a great game, but there's just a little bit about it that we don't like. Great. So we come up with a house rule. We can now play that game. We are playing that game 99% as intended, and we're just enjoying it more because of that fix. So in almost every occasion that I've come up with a simple fix, it has worked. I can't think of a situation where it hasn't worked. But if you go on to this geek list, you will find that there is a whole bunch of them for about 10 or 15 different games. James is in the chat. James has mentioned Atiwa. So the game from Uwe Rosenberg from a couple of years ago, I think it was. The solo game for Atiwa was a bit weird. Now, again, 99% of the game is great. But if you don't know the game, there are basically one part of the game. There are these 4 location cards. And they are cards that you can buy. And in the multiplayer game, people are buying cards from there, and then they get refreshed at the end of the year or something like that. At the end of the round, and I think there's 7 rounds. In the solo game, they don't refresh at all. And I'm playing it, and I'm like, well, I don't want any of those. And they don't refresh. So I came up with a house rule that said they refresh at the end of the round. And it's as simple as that. And then I actually, because I felt it was a problem, I actually wrote to Lookout Games and said, can you explain to me why the designer or the developer has chosen that they don't refresh at the end of the round? Because I think it's, you know, is there a problem with the rule book? Should it have been that they refresh? Is it a mistake in the game, or have you deliberately chosen this? I did get a reply from them. I can't exactly remember what that reply was, so I don't want to misquote them on this. But the gist of it, I think, was, yeah, you can do that. And in fact, that's what we actually do. And I'm like, right, okay. So there's a number of other house rules that I have come up with, and in my opinion, they make the game better. We even have one that we use in Gloomhaven. I'll tell you this now. I don't know if this is on the geek list. It might not be on the geek list. But in Gloomhaven, and if you don't know Gloomhaven, this won't mean anything. But in Gloomhaven, it is a card management game. You have cards, you play 2 cards every turn. And those cards, when you play them, go to your discard pile. And when you rest, you get the cards back, etc., etc., etc. But some of the cards are really powerful. So powerful that when you play them, they don't go to your discard pile. They are gone for that game. You'll get them back at the end of the game, but they're gone. They're special, super powerful cards. And if you've got a super powerful card that you've spent the last 2 turns preparing for, and I'm thinking specifically the Scoundrel, because this is when it happened to us. You're playing the Scoundrel, and you're like, right, okay, so I've got this card, which is like a sneak attack, and it's going to do double damage if I'm invisible. So I need to set things up. I need to move there. I need you to move there. I need to put the squirrel on the tree stump, and then I need to go invisible. Right, I've done all of that. I've set it all up, and now I'm going to attack. This is my super move, my once per game move. That is my signature move, and I'm going to do it, and then I draw the card, and it's the miss. And you're like, okay, so I do no damage whatsoever, and I've lost the card. Now that, for me, causes 2 problems in the game. First of all, negative player experience. And don't worry, I'm not being like all Care Bear, like, oh, you're really upset that your super move didn't work. You're playing the game for 2.5 hours. Your character is all about this one special move that you're going to build up for and do at the right time. And suddenly, because you drew a card and it was the miss, that's it. But also, from a balance perspective, Isaac has put so much effort into designing this game, and it actually is balanced. All of the characters are pretty much balanced. And if that character was designed that once in the game it's going to do this and do that and do that and do double damage, Isaac has factored that into the balance of the game. And if it comes out and that one character's super special move suddenly has no effect whatsoever, it's actually going to shift the balance of the scenario. Anyway, what we do is if you have a card which is one of these super special cards which you lose it when you play it, if that card involves an attack and that attack misses, then instead of losing the card, you just discard it instead. That's it. That's the rule. And suddenly that fixed the game for us. It fixed the problems. That player went, oh, I've missed, oh, rats, I've set myself up for this, but it's okay. I've still got the card. I can try again at some point in future. Anyway, that's a house rule. So I could go on for like an hour about house rules. Phil Pettifer did add a comment to this on the guild, and he said about Paul's idea for Settlers of Catan card game. So Settlers of Catan, famously, you roll 2 dice at the start of your turn, and that particular hex will produce resources. I don't even think this was my idea. If it was my idea, somebody else also had the idea. But you can actually play Settlers of Catan with a deck of cards. Not a normal deck of cards, but a deck of cards which is 36 cards, and you use the cards instead of rolling dice. And by doing that, it reduces the chance of, oh, it keeps rolling 4 every single time. Yeah, you have a deck of cards. So yeah, that wasn't my idea. Anyway, moving on to an easier question from Vanyo. Apples or oranges? Now, I'm going to say apples, even though I actually eat a lot more oranges, but I don't eat normal oranges. What I eat is the like clementines, satsumas, or the little ones. I still don't know the difference between a clementine and a satsuma. If you know, please let me know what is the difference between a clementine and a satsuma, because I don't know. But anyway, those little oranges that are really small, juicy and sweet, they're the ones I like. So they're the ones that I prefer. Second to that will be an actual apple. As for the normal big-sized oranges, I don't generally eat those. Next question from Hannah. What game will you be demoing at Essenspiel 2024? So I'm happy to announce that I will be demoing Galactic Cruise. Now, Galactic Cruise is a game which is being published by Kinson Key Games. It was a successful Kickstarter, very successful Kickstarter. It's going to be delivered to backers, I believe, either at the very end of this year or the start of next year. But Kinson Key Games are not going to be at Essenspiel. Dranda Games are the UK publisher, and Dranda have the exclusive rights to publish the game in the UK. Dranda are going to be at Essenspiel, so Galactic Cruise is being demoed at their booth. I've known the guys from Dranda Games for many years. I've done a number of videos for them on the channel, and Galactic Cruise is still, at the moment, my #1 game of 2024. So I'm going to be demoing that. Now, we are not going to be doing any bookings for it. So I thought we were going to be doing some bookings, but we're now not going to be doing any bookings. So it's completely open. If you want me to demo Galactic Cruise to you at Essenspiel 2024, I will be at the Dranda Games booth from 9 o'clock each morning, probably for about 4 hours or so, maybe 4.5 hours, because 4.5 hours is 3 demos. It's a 90-minute demo. And I'm hoping to get 3 demos in each morning, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And then somebody's taking over from me afterwards. So you will still be able to get a demo of Galactic Cruise, but it just won't be me. So that's where I will be. And also at this point, I just want to mention this just in case anybody who's watching this video is going to Essenspiel 2024 who doesn't want a demo of Galactic Cruise, but wants to see me. Saturday, 3 o'clock, or is it 2 o'clock? I can't remember. I think it's 3 o'clock. For about 2 hours, there is a meet and play event happening. So there's a group of German podcast people who have organised with the organisers of Spiel that they get one of these meeting rooms and they open it up to podcast people or content creators. And that's where I'm going to be. So if you are going to Essenspiel 2024 and you want to come and see me, that's the best place to come and see me. Because if you come by and see me at the Dranda Games booth in the morning, I'll be busy demoing. I won't have any time to talk to you. But if you want to sit and have a chat with me, find out what games I've been playing at the event, Saturday, 3 o'clock, that's where I'll be. Just Google Meet and Play Essen 2024. That's what the event is called. I will be there with Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming. I will be there with Luke Hector from The Broken Meeple. I'll be there with Mike Dennis from Ready Steady Play. And I'll be there with JP, Adrian, and James from the Whose Turn Is It Anyway podcast. So we're all going together as a group. And if you want to come and meet us and sit and have a chat with us, then you can. Right, next question from Simon. Which event would you most likely to qualify for the next Olympics in? Now, I don't know all of the Olympic events. I'm going to ask Vicky, can you pull up a list of all of the Olympic events, and then you say which one of those I would most likely qualify for? Because I don't know. I'll get back to you. But feel free to put your answer in the chat. Which event, which Olympic event do you think I would most likely to qualify for? Now, the reality is I'm never going to qualify for any of them. But which one am I most likely to qualify for? Let me know what you think, because I don't know all of the Olympic events. And please don't say chess. If chess is an Olympic event, don't say chess, because I'm absolutely rubbish at chess. Now, this next question, I really like this one. This made me laugh. This is from Darren. Darrin. That's how you spell his name. And he's saying, what is the worst character in movies or TV that shares my name? For him, it's the villain from Ant-Man, who's also called Darrin. So here's the thing. Earlier on today, I Googled, where is it? Other search engines are apparently available, but I Googled the top 101 fictional characters named Paul. Right. Number one on the list, straight away, is Paul Atreides. Well, he's not a villain, so we can't pick him. Right, now, this is what made me laugh. On the top 100 fictional characters named Paul, number 2, Paul McCartney. Now, I don't know if I'm living in a parallel universe, but Paul McCartney is not fictional. Anyway, the next thing is, I went down this entire list. So I've been down this entire list of the top 101 most famous fictional characters named Paul. I didn't recognize a single one of them, right? And Paul, the alien from the film Paul, wasn't even on the list. But I'm going down this list and literally never heard of any of these. Paul Dibs Plutzker, never heard of them. Paul Martin, never heard of them. Paul Trout, no. Paul Peterson, no. Paul Morgan, Paul Robinson, Paul the Butler, no idea. But anyway, so I don't know. And in fact, it doesn't look like there have been many famous or fictional people called Paul other than Paul Atreides. Again, I'm asking you this. I know it's my live Q&A, but I think I need help with some of these things. So please tell me what you think about the fictional characters named Paul, because I can't find any. Right, Vicky has found an Olympic event which she thinks I would most likely qualify for, which is road cycling. I mean, if you've been through them all, isn't there anything like fitting number of games into a Kallax? That's not an Olympic event. What about playing Puerto Rico? No. What about losing your keys? Is that? I mean, that totally should be an Olympic event, right? Okay. Next question from Mats. Will I ever get round to making my top 10 games of 2023, or has that idea been cancelled? I'll tell you what, Matt. I've been going back and forth over this for the last few months, and we're now in August. I wanted to do it around April time, and then April went, May went, and I thought, right, I'm going to do this in the summer. Maybe I should do this sometime around my birthday week where I took the week off work, but I ended up live streaming videos. We're now in August. I haven't planned to do it, and in fact, looking at my schedule for the next 2 months, I still don't have any time to do it. I'm still undecided about whether I'm actually going to do it or not. And you might think, well, why are you not going to do it? Every other content creator does their top 10 games, and I know that I traditionally do mine, you know, later than everybody else. But one of the other reasons why I haven't done it is doing those videos still makes me uncomfortable. I spend probably 2 days of my time sitting down and making my top 10 list. of which are my favourite games of the year. And I really do deliberate over this, more so than anybody else. I remember having a conversation with Rado once, and he said, well, he just goes, top 10 worker placement games? Yeah, it's this one, 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 this one. Turn the camera on, press record, talk for a bit, done, edit, done. Within 2 hours, his video's done. Me, it takes me 2 to 2.5 days, because I probably spend at least a day trawling through my entire collection, trawling through all of the games that I've rated. I just can't, on the spur of the moment, come up with these things. Now, guaranteed it should take me less time to go through my top 10 games of 2023, because I will just filter all of the games that I've played by which ones were released in 2023, but then the order of them, and then which ones do I miss out, and which honourable mentions. And every single time I have done one of these top 10 videos before, the day after it's gone live, I've looked at it and gone, no, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done things in a different order, or this one was outside of my top 10 and it should have been in my top 10. So yeah, I always have that as well. There's one other thing as well, and I don't want this to come across in the wrong way, but top 10 videos normally perform extremely well on people's YouTube channels. I follow a number of channels and I support a number of channels myself, and some of the channels that I support get 200 to 300 views per video. There's a lot of small YouTubers out there, and I support them. I subscribe to them. I watch their videos. I leave them comments. A lot of them I support on Patreon, and a lot of them are quite small. They will literally get 200 to 300 views per video, but they do a top 10 video and they will get 20, 25, 30,000. It's just the way it works. So you would think from that, considering the average video that I do gets about 2,000 views, that if I did a top 10, it would be amazingly popular. It's not. My top 10 videos over the years that I've been doing them actually really underperform compared to most other top 10 videos. And it's a bit disheartening. Now, all of my advertising revenue goes to charity, so it's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm not going to make enough money out of doing the top 10, so I won't bother doing it, because it's just, it all goes to charity. There is one YouTuber that I know that actually gets upset or starts moaning when their videos don't get over 100,000 views per video. Yeah, well, maybe they need to take a bit of a walk in our shoes someday. Anyway, moving on, Matt says he's noticed a worrying trend over the last few years that board games gradually take up more and more table space. So we're not talking the physical side of the box, we're talking about table space. And he's saying not just stupid extra big versions like Le Grand Deluxe and Castles of Mad King Ludwig Colossal, but we're talking normal Euro games. And the one he's mentioned is actually this one, which is right in front of me. This is Stefan Feld's new game that he's got coming out this year, which is being published by Deep Print Games and distributed by Pegasus Spiel in both Germany and America. This is Stefan Feld's big game. This is a big, heavy Euro game. And whilst the box size is... Oh, that's really heavy. This takes up a lot of table space. So I have a 6 by 3.5 foot table. And there are a number of games which I have which only just fit onto this. So most Lacerda games only just fit onto this table. Civolution only just fits onto this table. We even did a playthrough video for Unconscious Mind a few weeks ago. And Unconscious Mind, I wouldn't have said was a super complex, big, heavy Euro, but the footprint of it, it's got lots of stuff. Anyway, Matt says, and I'm curious to know what you think, do you agree, is that a worrying trend is that games are starting to take up more and more table space? And is it a problem? That's the thing. So my thoughts on it is, yeah, I tend to agree. When I look back at some of the Euro games from 15 to 20 years ago, they had a smaller footprint than most of the modern games. And I actually think there's a reason for that. One thing that I've noticed, there's a big difference between standard Euro games now and standard Euro games 20 years ago, is that the standard Euro games now, they've thrown everything in. If you go back and you play some of the old Knizia games like Tigris and Euphrates, like Taj Mahal, you know, things like that. I remember when we played Taj Mahal on the channel, a year ago? And I went back to it and I read the rules and I was like, what, is that it? Compared to most modern Euro games, this is literally 1/4 of the complexity. I think the worrying trend, and I don't know whether worrying is the right word because that's just how it is now, is that the standard Euro games that are coming out now, a lot of them are way more complex than your standard Euro game from 20 years ago. Now, we still do have some simple games coming out, but your standard Euro now, it's got to do something different. It can't just be card drafting. It's got to be card drafting with set collection, with this. Oh, and we've got an extra board and we've got some tracks here. Oh, and we've also got these bits here. And, you know, games seem to be just growing a bit too much. And I think that is what's the primary cause of leading to them taking up more table space. That's my thoughts. I'm curious to know what you think. If you're watching this back afterwards, leave me a comment, let me know. Right, next question from Peter, who is, as of this afternoon, my latest Patreon supporter. So thank you very much, Peter, for joining the Patreon, and a big warm welcome to the Slack channel, where I'm sure there will be lots and lots of discussions for you to join in on. Peter has a question. He says, he's asked me in the past about Euthea, comparing it to Mage Knight. And I do remember people asking me to compare the two, because there's a lot of similarities. He has watched my videos on Euthea, which is what triggered the question. His new question is, am I going to be covering the new expansion, Euthea, Cruel Frost? He says he loves the game, he enjoys my videos, and hopes to see more on the channel. Well, Euthea, for those people who don't know, was originally published by Dire Games, but then Dire Games had financial difficulties and ended up having to close, and Steamforged Games stepped in and basically took over the game. They bought all of the license for the game, all of the rights to the game. The people who designed the game are still the designers of the game. They're still doing all of that work, but Steamforged Games are putting the money behind it to actually make it happen. So all credits to Steamforged Games, because without them, we wouldn't have any Euthea content, but the design work and the hard work is being done by the original designers. Now, I don't really have that much of a professional relationship with with Steamforged Games, but I will be honest with you, they did contact me about covering Euthea Cruel Frost. Now, they contacted me because the designers of the game, who like me, they spoke to Steamforged Games and said, make sure you contact Paul and get him to do a video. Now, I'm being completely honest with you here, which may be slightly unprofessional of me to do, but this is what I'm going to do, is they contacted me and they said, Paul, we're interested in sending you a copy of Euthea Cruel Frost for you to cover on the channel, but it wouldn't be a sponsored video. So they were going to send me, the prototype of Euthea Cruel Frost, like they were sending it to a number of other content creators. And the idea is that content creators would get the game, learn the game, play the game, do a video on the game, and it would help them sell more copies of the game. And that's what reviewers do. And you're watching this, you might be one of them. You might be one of those YouTube content creators that does this, and you are more than happy to get games from publishers, make videos on those games, and then the publisher will then use that as marketing to help sell copies of their games. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, as long as everybody involved is happy with it. Now, I'm in a slightly different position in that this is my job. This is what I do for a living. And whenever a publisher contacts me and says, Paul, we've got an upcoming Kickstarter, we'd like you to cover this game so that we can sell more copies of the game, then for me, that is 99% of the time a chargeable service. Because if I didn't charge for that, well, as I say, it's my job. That's how I make money. Now, for Euthea, which is a big, complex game that takes hours and hours to play, it would have probably taken me 2 to 2.5 days of work to get the game, learn the game, practice playing the game, then do a playthrough video of the game. 2 days at least. So effectively, and I'm not saying that Steamforged Games didn't understand this, but effectively what they're asking is for me to take out 2 days of my working week, unpaid, to do a video to help them sell more copies of the game. So it wasn't something that I was going to be able to do, but also they said, and we need it done by the end of whatever. They basically gave me 2 weeks. Now, again, if you are a YouTube content creator and you don't have a fully packed schedule, you might be in the lucky position where a publisher contacts you and says, we'd love you to do a video on our game. You've got 2 weeks to do it. When can we send it? What's your address? Me, no way whatsoever. I'm booked pretty much full for the next 6 to 8 weeks, if not more. So yeah, I'm not able to fit in that amount of work at short notice. That's the full answer. And I wanted to be transparent with you as to why I didn't do any videos for Euthia Cruel Frost. Now, the question is, will I do any videos for Euthia Cruel Frost when it comes out? Because I'm hoping that Steamforge send me a review copy of the game afterwards. They don't need to, but considering the professional work that I did on the base game, I wrote the rule books for the base game. I spent 1.5 years of my life and I got paid for it, but I helped, just patting myself on the head a bit here, I helped make that game a success, because no matter what the game is, no matter how pretty it looks, and no matter how good the components are, if it's a super heavy game and the rulebook isn't up to standard, the game will just bomb and people will struggle to learn the game. So it was a paid job. I got paid for doing it, but I put a lot of time and effort into writing that Euthia rulebook. And I'm kind of hoping that allows, I don't know. We'll see. When the game does come out, I will be contacting Steamforge Games and say, look, I'd love a review copy of it because of my history with the game. They might send me a copy, they might not. Anyway, that's that. Next question, also from Peter. I played Aeon Trespass Odyssey, I did, and I've mentioned that I really enjoyed it, but it was a lot of work, and I have since moved on to Agamonia, Tainted Grail, ISS Vanguard, and other campaign games. Would I ever go back to Cycle 2, or is it too much? Is there a limit to how much gaming one man can squeeze into a week? Yes, there is a limit, and it's that limit is way too small for me. So, Aeon Trespass Odyssey is a massive, epic campaign game played over 5 cycles. The first cycle took us, I think it was about 25 or 26 sessions, each session being 3 to 3.5 hours long. So, yes, it's a big, epic campaign game, and it took us 9 months to play. And that was Cycle 1. Now, Cycle 1 is the start of the story. It does actually tell a complete story, and there was a nice ending and the way that it wrapped things up. But it was a complete story, but it's just the start of the bigger story. And a lot of fans of the game have told me that that's just the warm-up. Cycle 2 is amazing, and Cycle 3 is unbelievably fantastic. Cycles 4 and 5 are not out yet. They are going to be being delivered at some point in the next few months, I believe. But the question is, would I ever go back to Cycle 2? Part of me would like to, because we put so much time and effort into learning the system and becoming comfortable with the system, and the story was epic. The story was, one of the best narrative story experiences that we've had. And the experience of playing the game was some of the most exciting, tensest experiences we've had. The main reason for that is the combat is actually, I'm going to be honest here, the combat is very swingy. Very, very swingy in terms of dice rolling, card draw. It's one of the most swingiest combat systems that I've played. And if you don't like that kind of thing, the game might not be for you. We learned to embrace that because we were playing the game and that's just what the game is. And it gave us a much different experience from what I'm used to in games. So I would say overall, I did enjoy playing Cycle 1, but you're absolutely right. The amount of effort that it took to learn the game, master the game, get used to the rule system, because the rules, it's arguably one of the most complicated games that I've ever played. And the fact that people have said, Cycle 1 is just a tutorial. It really gets started in Cycle 2. And I'm like, Cycle 1 was already very, very complicated. But limited time. We have Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin that me and Vicky are currently playing. We've played Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, but we've not played any of the other 3 Tainted Grail campaigns. So there was 3 campaigns with the original one, and then there was the Red Death. We've not played them yet. I've got Agamonia. We are due to start Agamonia in about 6 weeks' time, I think. We've got 1 session left of our Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth campaign, and then we're going to be switching to Agamonia. And I think Rick asked me last night, how long is it going to take you to play Agamonia? How long do you think it's going to take us to finish the Agamonia campaign? 3 years. Yeah. And I was like, well, there's about 35 scenarios. If we meet up once a month and we play 1 scenario a month, it's going to take 3 years to play Agamonia. Right? Well, that's with 1 group. Our ISS Vanguard campaign should be done in the next few months. But I have Harakiri. I have Elder Scrolls. I have Primal the Awakening. Not to mention Oathsworn. Not to mention Frosthaven. Right? So whilst I would like to play Aeon Trespass Odyssey Cycle 2, those other games are ahead of it in the list. And the reality is that I'm not even going to be able to get to those games because next week, another new campaign game is probably going to arrive. Following on from that, Sean has got a question, which is, when will I be uploading my how to play videos for Aeon Trespass Odyssey? Now, my how to play videos for Aeon Trespass Odyssey are done. They are finished. I say they're finished. Somebody new watched them a couple of weeks ago and has got some comments for me, which I might look at fixing. But it's down to the publisher. Now, if you are one of my Patreon supporters, you do have access to those videos because my Patreon supporters got early access to them because they were helping me check those videos out for any errors or things like that. So if you are a Patreon supporter of mine and you want to see the Aeon Trespass Odyssey videos, then contact me. I can send you links to them. But the publisher will be giving me a date when I can make those videos public. And I don't know when that's going to be. Originally, it was going to be April. But obviously, we're in August now and it's not happened. So that is down to them. Right, there's a number of live questions. I may need to pick up the pace a bit. Yes, I've been rambling, haven't I? Okay, I'll answer these next ones as quick as I can. Bart, have you ever been halfway through setup, then thought that you didn't fancy playing the game after all and played something else entirely? It happened to him last month and he was really looking forward to the game at first. Short answer, no. That has never happened to me. I've never been halfway through setup and then realised I didn't fancy playing the game. That hasn't happened to me. The closest I've come to that was probably about 8 or so years ago when I was having a games weekend here and I really wanted to play Twilight Imperium, and this was back in the 3rd edition days, and I'd not played it for about 2 years, and I thought, we're going to play Twilight Imperium, and it's going to take all day, and we're going to play it. We set the game up. Because I hadn't played it in a couple of years and there was another new player at the table, we then went through all of the rules on how you play the game. That was 2 hours. So it 2 hours to set up the game and explain it. We played 1 round. And after that 1 round, I said to everybody, look, I'm really sorry, but I don't want to play this game anymore. I do not want to spend the next 8 hours playing this game. We need to find some way that I can drop out of this game because I don't want to ruin your enjoyment. I feel really bad about this. And they all went, that's fine, we understand. And they didn't carry on playing and we put the game away. And I have never felt any desire to go back to Twilight Imperium since. So that's the closest I've come to it. Next question from Alex. Who are your favourite characters to play in both the Arkham Horror LCG and Marvel Champions LCG? Easy answer, I don't have any. I don't play either of those games anywhere near enough to have a favourite character, especially Arkham Horror card game where a campaign is eight games long. What I will tell you in Arkham Horror is that I'm not really keen on the Guardian type character. I'm more of the searching for clues, the yellow character, reading the books and things like that, maybe with a little bit of spell casting. But the blue, the green, and the red characters, not so much me. More the yellow and the purple characters. And in Marvel Champions, I'll play anything really. I mean, I've not played all of the characters from Marvel Champions because there's loads of them, but I don't think I have any favourites. Next question from Robert Davey. Can I share my first impressions of the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era? I absolutely can. So, Chip Theory Games, big new game that is going to hopefully being delivered later this year to backers is the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. It is a game which I've been very excited about for the last couple of years, and it has not disappointed. I have put about 8 or 9 hours into this game so far. I have played a little bit of the game at 2-player, and I've played some games solo. I have done a number of playthrough videos for this game already, which are me learning the game. They are only available to my Patreon supporters, and the reason for that is I am due to do some sponsored playthrough content for this game, and I didn't feel it was right for me to do public playthrough videos where I am getting rules wrong, struggling to learn the rules, and basically, So these are all practice games, and I've done 3 of them so far, and these were live streamed to Patreon supporters. So if you're a Patreon supporter of mine, you have access to these videos. There will be more. I have a 3-player practice game coming up on, I think, the 5th of September. But again, these will be Patreon only, and these are all practice games. I take my work very seriously, and I do not want to create any sponsored content for this game until I have absolutely mastered the rules. What do I think of it? This is very likely to be my favourite Chip Theory games ever, although I will always have a soft spot for Cloudspire. I think Cloudspire is an underrated game that is just unbelievably brilliant. But Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is just incredible. I'm going to be honest with you here, and I'm going to tell something to Vicky that she doesn't know. The reason why I've been tired for the last week is that I actually haven't been sleeping. I've been setting an alarm, a sneaky alarm at 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been getting up. I've been playing Elder Scrolls for 6 hours. I've then been sneaking back into bed and going, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. I tell you what, I haven't been doing that, but I want to do that. The game is so good. It's like Too Many Bones 2.0. And I will be honest with you, I can't see me wanting to play Too Many Bones again. And you can quote me on that. That is my personal thoughts. I'm not saying it replaces Too Many Bones for everybody, because I actually asked the question to a number of other people, and they said, no, it doesn't replace Too Many Bones. We're still going to play Too Many Bones, because in Too Many Bones, you play a game and it's 4 hours, 5 hours, and that's it, it's done. Elder Scrolls, you play a session in that length of time, but you play 3 sessions in a campaign. So, I love it. I think it is fantastic. I think Chip Theory Games have done a brilliant job of adapting their Too Many Bones system, making a number of tweaks to it. It's not completely a copy, but it has a lot of similarities to the Too Many Bones combat system. Yeah, so initial impressions, very, very, very good. Last question for the questions before we go to the contest and then the live questions. From Ronald. Do you have friends that you play games with but they don't want to be on video? Yes, I think I do. And in fact, I've done a few playthroughs with friends who are in the playthrough but they're not on video. So there's a few of my videos that I've done where the other people on the other side of the table, you can't see them because they are not comfortable being on video. But there are probably other friends of mine that I play games with who, if I asked them to come round and be on a video, they might say no. I think everybody who I have asked, nobody has said, actually, I don't want to be on video at all, apart from Vicky. I don't know anybody else who said no to being on it. Right, that's the end of all of the questions in advance. So very quickly, contest. Every month, I give away £50 worth of game vouchers from Games Law. £25 of those vouchers come from Games Law themselves, so a huge thank you to Games Law for supporting me, supporting the channel and supporting this episode with £25 worth of vouchers, and I give £25 of vouchers myself. So one of you who is watching this video, either live or if you're watching this video back later, can win £50 worth of games vouchers from Games Law. There is a link to the contest in the description of this video, and Vicky is going to put a link to the contest in the chat. All you need to do is go into the form, fill in the details. Let me know if you are a Patreon supporter or not. And the secret word for this week is actually, I want to know what your favourite Stefan Feld game is. And the reason for that is, right now, in between doing videos like this, I am writing the script for the how to play video for Civolution. This is a really heavy game. The video is going to be over an hour long. I can tell you that right now with confidence. But yeah, tell me what your favourite Stefan Feld game is right now. It might change when this game comes out, but let me know. I will do the draw the day before the next Q&A. So the next Q&A is probably going to be the third Wednesday in September. So you've got pretty much a month to enter the contest. In terms of the winner from last month, it is, and I did the draw this morning, and I have sent you an email, Frank Hetchner. So congratulations, Frank. I don't know if you are watching this video or listening to this back, but I sent you an email earlier on. Please let me know if you got that email or not, but you have won £50 worth of games vouchers from Gameslaw. Now, as you might suspect from Frank's surname, he's not based in the UK. He is based in Germany. I think he's based in Germany, but that doesn't mean you can't enter the contest. So if you think it's only available to people in the UK, it's not. It's available to you anywhere in the world. And with a £50 voucher, even paying shipping, you can still get yourself a decent game. Well, I assume you can still get yourself a decent game for £30, £35 these days. Maybe not. Right, we're now going to go over to the questions that we have been asked from people who have been watching while we've been live. We've got 25 minutes left. So what I might say is, are we going to say no more questions? We're going to say no more questions. Please. Also, David Turtz is in the chat. Hello, David. Thank you very much for joining in. Who else is in the chat? Let's scroll up. Derek's in from Kanji Studios. Hi, Derek. Hexy Beast is in the chat. Lots of other people in the chat. Matt's here. Rick's here. Loads of people. Thank you very much for joining us with the chat. Okay, so let's move on to the questions that you've been asking me since we've been live. Yes, there's enough of them there. So no more questions, please. If you do have any burning questions, please save them till next month. Right. So, first question from Vanyo. Any update on the Aeon Trespass videos release? Talked about that. Easy question. Answered it. Next question from Halbax. Which game do you rank higher? Hoplomachus Victorum or Elder... Don't do this to me. I love Hoplomachus Victorum. Absolutely love it. But I'm going to say Elder Scrolls is going to win it for me. Even though I absolutely love Hoplomachus Victorum. And, spoiler... if I do get round to doing my top 10 games of 2023, Hoplomachus Victorum is going to be in there. It is so good. But I'm going to give it to Elder Scrolls because Elder Scrolls is also so good. But Elder Scrolls gives me more of my old RPG vibe. And Elder Scrolls is 1 to 4 players. Whereas Hoplomachus Victorum is just a solo game. Next question from Bjorn. Having played a couple of solo sessions of Elder Scrolls, what player count do I think I will enjoy the most? 2 or 3. I don't mind playing it solo, but with 2 or 3 players, I think the game is going to come into its own. And I know Mark Dainty, who is a solo board gamer primarily, Mark is going to be two-handing this game. So I think it's going to be like anything like Spirit Island or Too Many Bones. If you multi-hand the game with 2 or 3 characters, you're going to get interactions between the characters, which are going to allow you to explore more in the game. So yeah, for me, I would probably say 3-player is going to be the best number, but it's going to take longer to play than a 2-player. Now, my video that I'm doing on the 5th of September, the Patreon-only one, is going to be 3-player. So, and the sponsored video that I do is also going to be 3-player. Next question from Nick. What restaurant are you going to, and is it worth a trip from America? We are going to Brewdog in Exeter, spending some of our Tesco vouchers. We've never been to... Have we ever been to a Brewdog? Are Brewdog the people that make the beer that have got controversy over their... There was something in the news about Brewdog and that they don't treat their staff very well or something. Apologies if I'm talking completely... I'm going to get sued in a minute, but... It just rang a bell. There was something about Brewdog. Anyway, we're going to a Brewdog restaurant in Exeter. Is it worth a trip from America? I don't know. We've never been before. But we have £31 worth of Tesco vouchers, so we'll see what that buys us. Peter is asking, am I going to do my top 10 games of 2023? I answered that earlier on. Next question from Matthew. He's a big fan of one versus many games. Dungeon Saga seems to get a bad rap. How do I feel about one versus many games, Dungeon Saga, and how do I feel about Mantic in general? Okay, so first question. I hate one versus many games. I really, really don't like them. And we used to play them a lot. So 15 years ago, we used to have friends come over and we played Descent, first edition. Yeah, first, it wasn't even second edition, was it? No, it was first edition. First edition Descent using the Road to Legend campaign. Now, when they re-released Descent, I think they called it Descent Road to Legend, which was effectively second edition. But anyway, and I was the GM. And I grew to hate it. This could be down to my personal feelings, but I don't like being the one. I really don't like being the one. And I was usually the one. Now, I don't know whether I've played any other games where I wasn't the one. Oh yeah, I did. I did a video of this a few years ago. This is Australia by Martin Wallace. The expansion for Australia introduced a one versus many mode. And I wasn't the one. So I think for me, I hate it when I'm the one. And I just don't like the idea that the people are out to get me. It kind of triggers all of my insecurities. So I don't like that. But yeah, if I still don't like it. It's not my preferred style. It isn't my preferred style. Anyway, next question about Dungeon Saga. I've never heard of the game, so I can't give you my opinion on that. And how do I feel about Mantic? I've heard of Mantic, but I don't know much about them, I'm afraid. I don't think I've got any games for Mantic. I don't have any relationship with them. I don't think I've played a game for Mantic. So yeah, I'm afraid, Matthew, I'm not going to be able to answer most of your questions on there. Next question from Jackie. What game have you recently played or discovered that you wish you'd have played / discovered sooner? If it hasn't happened recently, what game did you play many years after its release? Okay, what game have I played recently or discovered that I wish I'd have played and discovered sooner? There is an easy answer to that, and that is Hoplomachus Victorum. I got Hoplomachus Victorum at Essen in 2022. Now, I did play a little bit of it when I got it. I think I did 2 games, but I only played a third of an act. And I really wanted to play a full game of it. And it was a good year and a half. It was in July of this year when I finally played a full campaign of it. So I'm going to say that one. I can't think of anything else that I've played recently that I think, oh, I wish I'd have played this sooner. Gaia Project is another one because I've only just recently got into playing Gaia Project. I played Gaia Project once when it came out, and that's it. So I did play it when it came out, which was what, 2017, I think. But then 6 years passed and I never played it. I'm now playing a lot of Gaia Project, both on Board Game Arena and with a physical copy. And I kind of wish I'd have been playing that a lot sooner because it is so, so good. Anyway, there you go. Next question from Luna Bear. When is the Woodcraft expansion being released? Well, my first answer to that is I have no idea whether there is going to be an expansion for Woodcraft or not. If there was, I don't know. I don't know. Now, the co-designer of Woodcraft, Ross Arnold, is one of my patron supporters and does occasionally pop into the chat. So I'm looking to see if Ross is here. I don't think Ross is here. Okay, if Ross was here, he'd be able to answer that. But I was unaware that there was going to be a Woodcraft expansion. So if there is, I don't know when it's coming out. Next question from Derek. He's joining the live Q&A for the first time. And he's not sure if it's been asked before. But how would I rank the Lacerda games that I've played? Yeah, so I'm going to refer back to my previous answer about how long it takes me to come up with a top 10. it would be an agonizing decision for me to rank the Lacerda games. But for you, I am going to try and do it right here. Now, this is off the cuff. This is as quick as I can. I still don't know what my favourite is. But my favourite ones are probably Kanban EV, Vinyos 2016, On Mars, and Inventions, which is his most recent one. I'm going to say that those four are probably in my favourite four. Below that, in the other ones, there is Weather Machine, The Gallerist, Escape Plan. Now, Lisboa might be in there. I'm not sure where Lisboa sits. Lisboa is probably around the middle, whereas Gallerist is also possibly... See, I don't rate Gallerist as high as most other people do. I'm not saying it isn't a good game, and if Vittel's watching this, he's probably getting really upset, but I'm not saying it isn't a good game, but it's really hard to rate these games because you're going to think, oh, the one at the bottom, Paul doesn't like it. It's like, I'm not saying I don't like it, but I would actually put the Gallerist, for me, in the bottom half. Lisboa is probably somewhere around the middle. On Mars used to be my favourite game, but as my tolerance for super complex games has dropped down, I'm not sure if On Mars would knock down a bit. I think I would probably enjoy playing Kanban now and Vinyos 2016 more than I would enjoy playing On Mars, which was not the case 3 or 4 years ago. Hopefully that has answered your question. Next question from Jackie. What is your favourite game to teach and play? Probably Mage Knight. Mage Knight and Through the Ages, right? I absolutely love teaching both of those games. And the reason why is that I know both of those games like the back of my hand. Both of them are very complex, very heavy games. And the reason why I enjoy teaching them is because, again, this is going to sound arrogant, I know I'm good at it. I know that I am good at teaching both of those games because I have had literally, with Through the Ages, 19 years of practice. No, 18. 2006 it came out. So I have been teaching and playing Through the Ages, not constantly, I do other things in my life, but teaching people how to play Through the Ages. And Mage Knight 2011, I think it was. So I've got a lot of experience of teaching and playing those games. And I love both of those games and they're both complicated. So I'm going to go with those ones as my favourite games to teach and play. Next question from Luna Bear. Did I get much sleep last night? I probably got about 6.5 hours, but it was interrupted at some point with a trip to the loo. Yeah, if you want the information. Next question from Corey. What's my favourite Lacerda game? We've kind of talked about them just earlier on, so hopefully that's answered that question. Next question from James. James has been searching for Viking Seesaw for quite some time. And is this a serious question? And has finally managed to trade for a copy. Are there still any Grail games that you haven't got but would you like to get and play? This is actually, I don't know if you know this, James. I don't know if this is a leading question or not. Because for those people who don't know, and I'm not going to use the term Grail game, because a Grail game to me is getting hold of a game which is really hard to get hold of because it's out of print. So I don't have any Grail games as such, but what I have had is a list of games which I felt I should own. Games which I felt should be in my collection because I've played them and I really enjoyed them and I think they should be in my collection. And that list of games was Gaia Project, War of the Ring, the board game, Fields of Arla, and there was one other one. What was the other one? I can't remember. But anyway, as of last week, and a big thank you to Gary, I now have all of those games. So this has been a good year for me in that I now have all of those games which I have felt for years that I should own. I have Gaia Project with the expansion. I have Fields of Arla. I have the War of the Ring board game. I think there's another one as well. Now, Ricky's saying Star Wars Rebellion. Don't start, Rick. You've got Star Wars Rebellion, and if I asked you to come round and play Star Wars Rebellion, you would say, okay, you're absolutely right. Star Wars Rebellion. Right. What I'm secretly doing, and Rick doesn't know this, but I have been sending his boss emails for the last 2 weeks to try and get him sacked. My cunning plan is to get Rick sacked so he doesn't have enough money and has to sell some of his games, and I will buy off him Star Wars Rebellion and Star Wars Imperial Assault. And then once he's sold me those games, I will then get him a job back again, because it's only a temporary thing. I'm not that evil. No, you're absolutely right. Star Wars Rebellion and Star Wars Imperial Assault, both of those games I think are incredible. Both of those I would class as masterpieces. And I don't use that term lightly. But I think both of those games are incredible games. And maybe I should have them in my collection. The problem with Star Wars Imperial Assault is you can't just have the base game. You've got to have all of the million expansions. And that's a crazy amount of money. Anyway. Apologies in advance, Rick, if you get the sack tomorrow. Next question from Denver. Do I have any tips for somebody who likes teaching games at Essen Spiel, but may not have contact with publishers? Well, that's the thing. All I would say is contact publishers. Literally reach out to them. Because I know for a fact that there are a number of publishers still looking for demo staff for this year's Essen Spiel. One of them being Dranda Games. I know last time I spoke to Dranda Games, they were still looking for a couple of people. So I would recommend pick a publisher that you would like to demo for and contact them. Find a contact email on their website or reach out to them via social media, Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and say, do you have any positions for demo staff? Are you interested in something like that? Now, if you are not known to them, you might end up doing it for not much money, but you definitely should do it for something. They will probably give you a free game or 2 games or something like that. But yeah, that's the way I do it. I would be proactive and I would reach out to them and I would ask them to see if they want you to demo their games. But my advice is make sure you pick a publisher whose games you enjoy, because you might end up demoing the same game over and over and over again. And whilst I love that sort of thing, not everybody does. Next question from Victor. What are my thoughts on the upcoming Cloudspire expansions? What would I personally like to see? Well, personally, I don't think Cloudspire needs any other expansions. And I'm saying that, like I said earlier on, I love Cloudspire, but I have not had time to explore all of the original content. I'm really happy that they are continuing to support the game with new content. And I think they're advertising this as, this is the end. This is it. So I think what's been happening is that Chip Theory Games have probably been working in the background on lots of stuff for Cloudspire, and they've spent so long working on it, they've said, look, we probably should actually do something with this. But I don't think Cloudspire sells as well as they would have liked, which is a real shame because it's fantastic. But I'm really happy to see that they are producing more content for it. As for what I would want to see, I don't know. As I say, I haven't really even explored all of the content that comes with the game at the moment. Next question from Matthew. He's sad to say, but he's never played a legacy game to completion. How do I feel about finally throwing it away, and how did that make you feel? Well, Matthew, we only have 8 minutes, and I could talk to you for 8 minutes about how I feel about this. And I will. This is a really good story. I think this is a really good story. And I think this is a really good story because I learned something about myself in this process. And I want to know if you had the same experience as me. So if you're watching this back afterwards, let me know in the comments. My experiences with Pandemic Legacy Series 1. I could not bring myself to physically destroy components of a board game. The thought of ripping up a card made me uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. Now, I'm okay with putting a sticker on a board, but I was not comfortable with ripping up cards. Now, the group that I played Series 1 with, was it called Series 1 or something like that, Season 1, was very nice. And they said, okay, Paul, we can see that you're visibly shaking at the thought of ripping up a card. So I tell you what, we won't rip cards up. What we're going to do is we've got an envelope. And on this envelope, we wrote ripped up cards. And every time a card got ripped up, we put it in the envelope. And it made me feel a lot better. And what we did is we just put the cards in the envelope and then that was it. And that was our equivalent of ripping up cards. A number of sessions later, we finished Pandemic Legacy Series 1. We now have a board game which we can't use. So Pandemic Legacy, when you play Pandemic Legacy, you don't end up with a playable game afterwards, unlike, for example, Charterstone. You end up with an unplayable game. So there I was with this game, and sure, I can take the cubes out and I can use the cubes for other things, but I can't really use the board. I can't use the cards. So I've got this game. What am I going to do with it? And then I've got this envelope that says ripped up cards. So in the end, I kept the game for a year, and then I went, well, I'm just going to recycle it, and it got thrown away. And I realised something. I might as well have ripped the cards up. Because all I did was put them in an envelope, put them in a box, and then a year later, throw them in the bin. So, and here's the thing. Everybody who played that game or any legacy game where you literally rip up a card, it gives you an emotional response. You died. Your character has just died. We're going to take your character card and we are going to rip it in half. That is going to provoke, for me anyway, some kind of emotional response. Whereas putting it in an envelope did not provoke that response. So here's the thing that I learned is I missed out. I did not experience that game as well as I could have done. If we'd have ripped up those things that we were supposed to rip up, I would have had a more emotional involvement in that game. And I missed out on that. So there you go. That's my personal story about legacy games in general. And I am really curious to know, am I talking nonsense or is anybody else in the same boat as me? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Right, moving on. Jackie, have you managed to get through all of the content and expansions for Unconscious Mind? No, so I have a series of tutorial videos coming out for Unconscious Mind. I have a how to play video for the base game. I have a how to play video for the expansion and all of the additional modules. And I have a how to play video for the solo game. I have a playthrough video, a 3-player playthrough video for the base game. And I have a solo playthrough video. All of those videos will be coming out at some point in the next month or two. I don't know when the game is going to get delivered to people, but they'll be coming out. The question from Jackie is, have I managed to get through all of the content and the expansions myself? I've only played the base game, and the base game, I'll be honest, is probably enough for me because the base game is still quite heavy. The tutorial video is a 43-minute video. So yeah, I'm not in any rush to explore all of the expansions and all of the modules or anything like that. So what has been my favourite? I can't answer that because I've only played the base game. Next question from Luna Bear. Have I considered taking a break for mental health purposes? We often hear about your anxiety in your sleep. Have you spoken to a medical professional to guide you on the best steps for health? I have. I've spoken to medical professionals a number of times, and a lot of it is down to my own personal management of my time. And please remember that I get so much enjoyment from playing games. And I know I probably should take more of a break. Trust me, I am a lot better now than I was, 2 years ago? 3. So between 2 to 7 years ago, or 2 to 8 years ago, they were the problem years. I am a lot better now. Not perfect, but I am a lot better now than I was then. But thank you very much for your comments. It's one of those things that I just have to keep trying to manage and keep trying to make sure I don't end up doing too much. Next question from S. Marstilla. Have I ever tried taping your mouth shut at night? Oh gosh, no. I had a lifelong issue with not actually getting rest while sleeping. Tried tons of fixes, including sinus surgery. Taping works. I haven't tried that. I don't fancy the idea of that, to be honest, but I think I probably sleep with my mouth closed anyway. I think I breathe through my nose when I'm asleep. I don't really know. Next time I'm asleep, take a video, live stream it. Extra bonus content for Patreon supporters. Paul sleeping. Denwer says, favourite small board game YouTubers. Lots. Really, really. There are a lot of them. But I'm going to mention somebody specifically here. I don't know if Derek is still in the chat. I think he might be in the chat still. Derek from Kanji Studios. Derek produces absolutely top quality content. And I'm not saying that to get in his good books or anything like that, but I watch a whole bunch of Derek's videos and I pop into his live streams whenever I can. The quality is incredible. And when I see the number of subscribers that Derek has on his YouTube channel, that's wrong. That is a crime right there. Derek should have 20, 30, 40,000 subscribers. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, you have about 2.5 or 3. So get on over there, subscribe to him and watch some of his videos. The content is incredible and he should have way, way, way more subscribers than he has. So yeah, I would say definitely Derek for one, but there's lots of other ones too. I mean, I've got lots of other content creator friends that I talk to, but we're talking about people who get, you know, on average more views than I do. So I wouldn't class them as small content creators. But yeah, there's a number of other ones as well. I'll try and have a think, but there's loads of. Next question from Peter. Are you going to cover the new solo mode for Terraforming Mars by David Turtsey on the channel? On my list of things to do is to write to Stronghold Games and say, dear Stronghold Games, please send me the new stuff. And I might copy in David and say, I'd love to cover David's new solo mode of Terraforming Mars. It's on my list to do. My relationship with Stronghold Games is at tier 2 or tier 3. So I'm not in their list of chosen people who get the stuff early to cover on the channel. But they've been very good to me in the past in that they've always sent me what I've asked for. I just need to get round to asking them. I love Terraforming Mars. It's probably a top 10 game for me, and I am very keen to try David's solo mode. Next question from Adrian. Civolution videos coming soon. Well, I'm not going to say soon, but soonish. So set your calendar reminders. Saturday, 13th of September, the first public exclusive playthrough video of Civolution is going to be live on my channel. That's unless another channel decides to do it before me. But I have been assured by both Deep Print Games and Pegasus Spiel that I will be the first. There will be a tutorial and playthrough video on my channel on Saturday, the 13th of September in the afternoon. So, yeah, set your diaries. The video isn't there yet on the channel, so you can't go and set a reminder, but you can set your diaries for it. There is actually, if you are one of my Patreon supporters, there is already a playthrough video for this. It's not very good quality. It's just that camera go. But me, Tom Heath and Rachel from Slicker Drips, we did a 3-player playthrough a couple of months ago. And that is on my channel. But as I say, it's not going to be as good a video as the one that I do on the 13th. I'll tell you that. And the how to play video, I don't know. I'm aiming for October. It's going to be, and I'll tell you this now, and I'm not saying this to get any sympathy, the creation of the how to play video for this game is likely to be about 80 to 90 hours work. I do not work full time on creating these how to play videos because I have tons of other work to do. So it's basically going to take me the next 2 to 2.5 months to create the how to play video for this game. But I've started. I'm working on the script. I'm hoping to have the script finished by the end of this week, but at the current rate of progress, it's not going to happen. Next question from Denwer. Most disappointing games of 2023. Unfortunately, there's no way that I'm going to be able to answer that question right now. But what I would ask you to do is go onto the guild, Board Game Geek, guild number 2258, and post a thread there and ask for anybody most disappointing games of 2023. And at some point, maybe tonight when I get back from Brewdog, I will go on and I will give you a couple of my most disappointing games from 2023. But I can't answer it now. But if you head on over to the guild, post that question on there as a new thread, then other people can contribute to it as well. And if you want to contribute to it, wait 5 minutes, then head on over to the guild and join in that conversation. Right, last question from Nick. RE campaign games. With the Elder Scrolls being a campaign style game, but only 3 sessions and fully replayable, do you think that this structure will become more popular from other companies? No. I'd like it to be, but I don't think it will. One of the big disadvantages with campaign games is the investment of time. I mentioned earlier on, Agamonia is likely to take us 3 years to play. I mean, there's 35 scenarios. You don't have to do all of them, but if I give you 35 scenarios, would you want to do all of them? Or would you be happy missing one? No, we're going to do all of them because we're completionists. We have to do all of them because that's what we do. That's 3 years of investment of time, right? We're playing ISS Vanguard at the moment. ISS Vanguard has been 16 sessions for us so far. It's probably going to be about another 5 or between 5 and 10 more, I think. I'm not sure. Aeon Trespass Odyssey. I mentioned that took us 26 sessions to play. Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. I don't know. But there are other campaign games as well. There's Primal the Awakening. Primal the Awakening, I believe, is 10 chapters. So it's doable. And if you're only playing 1 or 2 players, you can probably play 2 games in a session. What's the other one? That's 4. There's something else. Is it Mandalorian? Mandalorian's not a campaign game. Oh, Star Wars Imperial Assault using the app. It's 4 games, 4 or 5 games, and that's the whole campaign. Now, one of those games might take you 5 hours to play, but I'm a big fan of short, replayable campaigns. And I was actually having this discussion with Vicky over dinner last week, and the 2 big differences are ISS Vanguard, Tainted Grail, Agamonia, Aeon Trespass Odyssey, the big campaign games that are going to take you 20, 25, 30 sessions to play. You're not going to play them again. 1, because of the time. 2, because the big part of those campaign games for me is the narrative. And once you have been through that narrative, I don't really have that much desire to go through that narrative again. Certainly for ISS Vanguard and for Tainted Grail. As much as I love those games, there's a lot of narrative in them. Games like Agamonia, I could probably see me playing that again. But with Elder Scrolls, because each campaign is actually just 3 sessions long, you're not going to get the same amazing narrative experience that you're going to get with the other campaign games. It's a different style of campaign game. So on one, you have the ones that are focused mainly on the narrative, and you have the other ones that are focused, I would say, mainly on the gameplay. And yeah, but the question was, do I see more publishers going for this style? I don't see that. I think the big epic campaign games are still going to be a thing. Yes, right. We're going to wrap things up. The contest, just before we go. If you are tuning in, you missed the information about the contest. Every month, as part of the Patreon campaign, I do a £50 Games Law voucher giveaway. £25 of that comes from Games Law. £25 comes from me, myself. I radar piggy bank and I put it in. And you can win £50 of games vouchers. All you need to do is click on the link, which is in the chat right now, and it is in the description of this video. Last month, we had 166 people entering, which is more than we've ever had before. We normally only get about 100 to 120. So more people entered last month, but still only about 10% of the people who watch this video enter the contest. You can enter the contest no matter where you are in the world, and you could win £50 worth of games vouchers. And the secret word for this month is I just want you to tell me what your favourite Stefan Feld game is. If you haven't played a Stefan Feld game, then go out and play one and then put that in the thing. But we are all done. Thank you very much to everybody for joining. We are only 8 minutes over. We did well. We did well at catching up. Thank you very much to Vicky for helping me with this Q&A. I can't do it without her. Thank you very much to everybody who's kept me company for the last hour and a half. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've had fun. And don't forget, this will be available as a podcast as well. So if you're watching this one and you think, oh, I'd prefer to listen to this as a podcast, you can. That's going to be up there in a couple of days' time. But I'm going to say goodbye. I will be back. I'm having a day off from streaming tomorrow. I will be writing the script for this. I will be back on Friday with a live stream of Nucleum with the latest expansion, which is not released yet, but is going to be out soon. That's going to be coming on Friday evening. So if you're interested in that, check that out. We're all done. Thank you very much for everybody for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.